Usually, when we talk about a map, there's this expectation of literal precision, like engineering level precision.
Right, exactly.
You want to go from point A to point B, you pull up the GPS on your phone, and it shows you a solid blue line.
Yeah, and a voice just tells you exactly when to turn.
It's super physical, it's clean,
Yeah.
and it operates entirely within the boundaries of the physical world that we can, touch and measure and verify.
Well, and it's deeply comforting, right? Human beings naturally gravitate toward the visible. We like things categorized.
They really
We
do.
want our geography to be strictly anchored in longitude and latitude. We want our history to be a neat sequence of dates. I mean, we want everything in a very observable box.
But then you step into the world of ancient texts and sacred geography, and suddenly that literal GPS completely shatters.
Completely. The rules just don't apply anymore.
Or, perhaps more accurately, it stops tracking physical coordinates and starts tracking something entirely different. And that's what we're looking at today.
Yeah, we are diving into a textual landscape that fundamentally challenges everything we assume about how to read ancient scripture.
It's a massive paradigm shift. We're exploring a really profound question today for you listening. What if the concepts of eating, drinking, and even geography in these texts aren't just about physical survival or literal borders?
Right. What if they aren't literal at all?
Exactly. What if they are actually an intricate mathematical blueprint for a metaphysical energy body?
It's a fascinating concept, but it requires viewing the world through a radically different lens.
It really does. So, to set the stage, we are going to explore an incredibly specific, highly unconventional linguistic and geographic reinterpretation of religious texts today.
Yes. And the foundational premise here is to basically strip away centuries of external tradition.
Right, all the historical commentary, cultural assumptions, orthodox interpretations, all of it.
Exactly. Instead of relying on all that, we are going to look purely at the internal linguistic structure of the source text itself, treating it as a completely self-referential ecosystem.
And I want to make something incredibly clear right at the outset for you listening. We are not here to validate or invalidate the religious or political traditions of the past 2 millennia.
No, not at all. Our goal is strict impartiality here.
Right. All the groundbreaking work, the intricate textual translation, and the overarching framework we are exploring today comes directly from the research of Dr. Khaled Walid.
Yes, this is entirely his linguistic mapping.
Our mission is simply to decode his revolutionary analysis, because it completely redefines sustenance, human anatomy, and sacred geography, relying strictly on the internal vocabulary of the source text.
It's a massive undertaking.
It is. And if you find yourself captivated by the sheer scale of this theory as we go through it, we highly encourage you to go to the primary source. Subscribe to the Almighty Covenant YouTube channel to see Dr. Walid's full body of work.
I highly recommend it. So the premise Dr. Walid operates on is that the text is mathematically precise.
Like every single word matters.
Exactly. Every word, every root, every verb choice is deeply intentional. And to understand this paradigm shift, we actually have to start at the most granular level possible.
Which is what?
We have to completely redefine the most basic primal human actions: eating and drinking.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because eating is pretty universally understood. You feel hungry, you put food in your mouth, your stomach digests it, and you don't starve.
Right, it's a biological imperative.
Yeah, it's just biology. So how does a linguistic framework change the definition of basic survival?
Well, by looking at how the text strictly categorizes verbs based on their consequence.
Okay, what do you mean by consequence?
In Dr. Walid's breakdown of the language, the text creates this impenetrable wall between actions that are self-centered and actions that are transitive.
Transitive meaning like doing something to someone else.
Exactly. So on one side of this wall, you have the verbs for eating and drinking. In the text's internal logic, these are actions where you consume purely for yourself.
Right, it's individualistic self-preservation. If I eat an apple, I'm the only one getting the calories.
Oh, precisely. But on the exact opposite side of the wall, you have verbs for feeding and watering, giving food and drink to others.
Ah, okay. That's the transitive action.
Right. It is social, it's external, and it's focused entirely on providing.
But I mean, in our modern society, we generally view those as two entirely separate spheres of life.
We do. We disconnect them completely.
Yeah, like I eat my breakfast to fuel my own day. And maybe if I have surplus time or money later in the year, I donate to a food bank or buy a friend lunch.
Sure, as a totally optional act of charity.
Exactly. My right to eat breakfast isn't legally or morally tied to my charitable giving. But Dr. Walid's analysis suggests the text completely intertwines them.
It's actually more than intertwines them. It creates a strict moral prerequisite.
A prerequisite, like a requirement.
Yes. The core insight drawn from this textual analysis is that you are quite literally not permitted to consume until you have provided for others.
Wait, really? Yeah.
Yes. Biological consumption is strictly conditional on social responsibility in this framework. The text repeatedly, relentlessly links the act of personal eating to the act of feeding the poor, the orphan, or the traveler.
Hold on. Biologically, if I don't eat, I die. If I am starving and I find a piece of bread, you're saying this textual framework literally reclassifies my survival instinct to eat that bread as a crime if I haven't fed someone else first.
That's exactly what it does.
How does that work logically? That sounds impossible.
Well, if you consume without feeding others, the text actually changes the linguistic definition of what you are doing. It is no longer considered lawful nourishment.
What does it become?
It becomes something destructive. The vocabulary shifts from eating to devouring or consuming illicitly.
Oh, wow. So it's like a linguistic demotion.
Exactly. In this paradigm, existence isn't just about biological survival. It is about functioning within a divine ecosystem.
Right, so you're part of a larger whole.
Yes. And if you take from the system without contributing back to it, you act as a parasite regardless of how hungry your physical stomach might be.
Okay, it's like the airplane oxygen mask rule, but completely inverted.
Oh, that's a great analogy. How so?
Well, on a plane, the safety video always tells you to put your own mask on first before helping the person next to you, right?
Right. You have to save yourself first.
Exactly. It prioritizes individual survival so you can be useful. But this paradigm demands the exact opposite. You absolutely cannot put your own mask on until you've helped the person next to you breathe.
Yes. Your right to consume air or food or resources is locked behind the prerequisite of giving it.
That is wild. It completely flips human nature on its head.
It's a very powerful way to visualize it. And to unlock that right to consume, Dr. Walid identifies 3 specific textual conditions for lawful eating.
Okay, so there's a checklist.
Yes, a strict checklist. If any of these 3 are missing, the act is condemned. First is the condition of maturity.
Maturity, like age.
Sort of. The text says you can only eat when the fruit has ripened or reached its full intended state. You cannot consume something prematurely.
Agriculturally, that just means don't pick green apples, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine there is a deeper layer here regarding resources.
Far deeper. It applies to wealth, to relationships, to natural resources. Extracting value from something before it has fully matured is considered a form of exploitation.
I can see that, like cashing out an investment before it actually builds value for a company, just to make a quick buck.
Exactly. Or exploiting young workers. It's taking before the system is ready to give.
Okay, so that's maturity. What's a second condition?
The second condition is rights. The text explicitly states that on the very day of the harvest, before you take your own portion into your storehouse, you must give the rightful share to others.
Meaning the poor, the needy.
Yes. And you do not give them your leftovers. You give them their mandated right from the initial harvest. This is that oxygen mask reversal in action.
So the poor have an actual legal right to the first cut of your harvest. It's not just a nice thing to do, it's their property.
Precisely. If you withhold it, you are stealing from them. And the third condition is purity.
Okay, so the food has to be clean.
Yes, but ethically clean. The consumption must be from a good or pure source. It cannot be tainted by exploitation, theft, or corruption.
So maturity, rights, and purity. Only when those 3 conditions are met does devouring transform back into lawful eating.
You've got it. That's the baseline for basic sustenance.
Man, if eating requires this massive, multi-tiered moral checklist, then we clearly aren't just talking about a bowl of olives here.
No, we are definitely not.
If the definition of food expands this much, what else are we eating?
Well, Dr. Walid expands the definition of eating far beyond the physical stomach by identifying 3 metaphorical trees in the text from which humanity consumes.
3 trees. Okay, break those down for me.
The first is the olive tree, which does represent material food, the biological sustenance that keeps the physical body alive.
The literal calories.
Yes. But remember, even this requires you to feed others first, based on the rules we just discussed.
So the olive tree is the baseline. What is the second tree?
The second is the tree of knowledge, or wealth. And this introduces metaphysical consumption.
Metaphysical consumption, so not chewing and swallowing.
Right. In the internal language of the text, you can literally eat knowledge. You can eat wealth.
Okay, wait. The text explicitly uses the verb for eating, when it discusses, like, money.
Yes. It uses the exact same verb for eating when it discusses consuming an orphan's inheritance or taking illicit funds. You are devouring energy, power, and resources.
I mean, we do use consumption metaphors all the time in English without thinking about it. I say someone swallowed a lie.
Right, or devoured a book.
Yeah, or gobbled up market share. But you are saying the text treats this not as a poetic metaphor, but as a literal moral mechanism.
Exactly. It's not poetry, it's a mechanical rule. If a CEO embezzles pension funds, they're literally eating from a corrupt tree in the eyes of this text.
Wow. So if you consume wealth or hoard knowledge without purifying it by sharing it with others, you are violating the rule of the harvest.
Precisely. And the third tree takes it even further into the existential realm. It is the family tree.
Okay. How do you eat from a family tree? That sounds a little bizarre.
It represents existential consumption, utilizing your vital creative energy to produce good offspring, to cultivate a generation, to build a community.
Oh, I see. So it's about what you produce with your life force.
Yes. The text frequently compares human relationships and generations to a tillage or harvest. If the soil is pure, the harvest is good.
So raising a family is a form of agriculture in this framework.
Metaphorically, yes. You are consuming existential energy, your very life force, to leave a legacy. If you use that energy selfishly or destructively, you are consuming from a corrupted family tree.
So every single interaction, biting into an apple, learning a new concept, acquiring a paycheck, raising a child, it's an act of consumption that demands an immediate give back to the ecosystem.
Every single one. There are no isolated actions.
To really cement this, I want to look at the specific anatomy of a meal, according to Dr. Walid's theory. Because there's an analysis he does of a chapter called Surah Abasa, and it is fascinating.
Ah, yes. Surah Abasa.
It starts with a really simple command directed at the human being. It basically just says, look at your food.
Yes. The text commands the human to look at his food before he eats it. Now, you have to ask, why look?
Right. I mean, most people look at their food to see if it's cooked properly or if it looks appetizing.
Exactly. But Dr. Walid points out that the verses immediately following this command don't describe a finished plate of food on a table at all.
No, they describe a massive cosmic supply chain.
Right. The verses shift immediately away from the plate. It talks about water pouring down from the sky in abundance, the earth splitting open, the seeds taking root.
It mentions the grapes, the olives, the palm trees, the dense gardens growing. It forces the perspective all the way back to the atmosphere and the soil.
And the crucial linguistic detail here is the agency. The human being didn't do any of that.
Right, the text says, we poured the water, we split the earth.
Yes. The divine force is the active agent. The human is merely the final consumer at the very end of an unfathomably complex supply chain.
So the command to look is actually a demand for profound, humbling awareness.
Exactly. It's demanding that you recognize your place in the system.
Think about how alienated we are from that process today.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a drive-through, someone hands you a paper bag through a window, you eat it in your car while staring at your phone, and you throw the bag away.
It's incredibly disconnected.
You have absolutely zero connection to the water, the soil, or the labor that produced it. In this paradigm, that kind of blind, disconnected eating is actively condemned.
Highly condemned. You have to witness the cycle. You have to realize you didn't create a single molecule of it.
And acknowledge that the food was grown not just for your individual survival, but, as the text explicitly states, for you and for your grazing livestock. It's a shared universal resource.
Which naturally forces us to ask a much larger question. If eating is not just a biological function, but a profound moral, metaphysical, and existential act, then the body that is doing all this eating must be more than just flesh, blood, and a digestive tract.
Okay, yes, that's the logical next step. Because if I'm eating knowledge or devouring an orphan's wealth, my physical stomach isn't digesting that.
Right. The physical body can't process a metaphysical input.
Yeah, like the hydrochloric acid in my gut doesn't break down the stolen bank account.
Yeah.
So how does this textual paradigm define our actual anatomy? What is the hardware doing the digesting?
To understand the anatomy, we have to examine Dr. Walid's principle of duality within the text.
Duality, so twos.
Yes. According to his linguistic reading, the text establishes a strict universal rule that everything is created in pairs.
Okay.
When we apply this mathematical pairing to the human form, it is divided into two major distinct centers, the head and the chest.
The head and the chest.
Yes. And each of these centers has paired functions that mirror and interact with each other.
Walk me through this, because this hardware and software breakdown is where the theory gets incredibly granular. We have the head and we have the chest. What is the core identity residing in each?
In the head, you have what the text calls the maro.
Amor. Okay.
This translates roughly to the conscious self. It is your immediate situational awareness. It's the voice in your head right now.
So it's my active thinking brain.
Exactly. But paired with it, located in the chest, you have the qalb, which is traditionally translated as the heart.
And just to be absolutely clear here, we're not talking about the physical cardiac muscle pumping blood through veins, right?
Correct. In this metaphysical paradigm, the qalb in the chest is the deep center of intention. It is the heavy gravitational core of who you truly are beneath the surface thoughts.
So the mar is the surface, the qalb is the deep core.
Right. The text actually states that the divine intervenes or stands between the conscious self in the head and the heart in the chest. They are two different poles, two different entities within one form.
I can actually see how that plays out psychologically. Like, I might consciously think in my head, I am a very generous person. I am doing this favor because I am kind.
Right. That's your martaka.
Exactly. But my heart in my chest, my deep, actual intention, my qalb, might be entirely selfish. I might just be doing it for the tax write-off or for social validation.
Yes. The head and the chest can be completely out of alignment.
That's a perfect example of that duality.
Yeah.
So let's look at how these two centers process information, because they use different organs, right?
They do. In the head, you have the fuad. This is the initial receiver, the rapid processor of sensory input.
Like the eyes and ears.
Yes. It sees, it hears, it reacts instantly to the environment.
This is where I love the computer analogy. The fuad in the head is like the random access memory in your laptop.
EB.
It is light and fast. It handles whatever program you have open right this second.
That's a brilliant way to phrase it.
You touch a hot stove, the RAM processes the pain instantly. But RAM is volatile. As soon as you cut the power or go to sleep, that immediate processing disappears. It doesn't store long-term meaning.
That analogy holds up beautifully when we look at the paired organ in the chest, which is the aquil.
The aquil, so what does the aquil do?
The aquil is the deep synthesizer. If the head has the RAM, the chest has the hard drive and the CPU working in tandem to form permanent wisdom.
Oh, wow. So the chest does the actual heavy processing.
Yes. The text says they have hearts with which they aquil, meaning they use the chest to process, bind, and understand deeply.
Okay, so the RAM in the head catches the raw data, the image, the sound, the mathematical equation.
Right.
But the chest has to actually compile it, analyze it, and extract the moral meaning.
Right, exactly. The fuad just perceives it, the aquil makes sense of it.
So if I memorize a physics textbook, my fuad in my head has all the raw data. I can pass a test. But if I don't understand the ethical implications of that physics, like whether to build a bridge or a bomb, my aquil in my chest hasn't synthesized it. The data hasn't become wisdom.
Exactly, which leads directly to the two types of knowledge Dr. Walid identifies in the language. You have surface knowledge in the head, which he calls marifa.
Marifa.
Yes. It is situational. It is like recognizing a face in a crowded room. Fast, immediate, but shallow.
And what's in the chest?
In the chest, you have ilm, which is rooted, deep, undeniable knowledge. It is the bedrock of understanding.
We have the conscious self and the deep intention. We have the RAM and the hard drive. What is the actual energy powering these two centers?
This is where the duality culminates. The two ultimate forces animating the human being are the spirit and the soul.
Spirit and soul. A lot of people use those interchangeably.
They do, but in Dr. Walid's analysis, they are profoundly different. The spirit, or ruh, resides in the head. It is described linguistically as electrical, swift, and immediate command descending from above.
Like a lightning bolt.
Yes. It is light. It is a pure spark of divine consciousness.
And the soul.
The soul, or nafs, resides in the chest. And its properties are entirely different. It is magnetic, it is heavy, it possesses gravity and pulls toward the earth.
So it's grounded.
Yes. The soul has appetites, it feels hunger, it feels fear, it fluctuates between panic and peace.
Okay, so the spirit in the head is a pure, top-down electrical command.
Yeah.
Unchanging and pure. But the soul in the chest is a complex, turbulent, magnetic field of earthly desires and emotions.
Precisely. We are essentially walking electromagnets. You have an electrical antenna in your head and a heavy magnetic core in your chest.
That makes so much sense of internal human conflict, like when you know the right thing to do intellectually, but you physically crave doing the wrong thing.
Exactly. That's the tension between the spirit and the soul. And this brings us to what might be the most massive textual distinction in Dr. Walid's entire theory. The difference between the physical body and the energy body.
Right, because the text uses two distinct words that historical translators have often just lazily translated interchangeably as body.
They have. But Dr. Walid argues the internal vocabulary proves they're completely different constructs. The first word is jism.
Jism, okay.
This is the physical meat suit. It has physical dimensions, height, weight, cellular structure, and it requires biological food to sustain its organs.
It is the biological hardware.
Precisely. But the second word is jasad. According to the strict textual reading, the jasad is the energetic or spiritual body.
Okay, so jism is physical, jasad is energetic.
Yes. The jasad is the invisible structure that comprises that electrical spirit in the head and that magnetic soul in the chest. It does not have biological cells. It does not need physical bread or physical water.
Because it's an energy body, therefore it requires metaphysical nourishment.
Exactly.
Okay, but if I can't hand my energy body a sandwich, how on earth do I feed it? We established early on that eating and drinking are transitive moral actions. How does that map onto this metaphysical anatomy?
The energy body operates on that exact same duality we just established. The head, where the spirit resides, is nourished by the action of watering or drinking.
Drinking what?
In the text's internal language, pure water is a consistent metaphor for divine guidance, pure revelation, and absolute truth. The spirit drinks knowledge, it drinks clarity.
And the chest. How do I feed the soul?
The chest, where the soul resides, is nourished by feeding or eating. But it eats ethical actions. It eats good deeds. It eats the act of providing for others.
Ah, so giving is eating for the soul.
Yes. When you give your wealth to an orphan or share your harvest with the needy, your physical body, your jism, is losing physical resources. Your bank account is smaller.
Right, physically I am poorer.
But your energy body, your jasad, specifically your soul, is consuming a massive metaphysical meal that strengthens its magnetic field.
This completely flips the script on how we view health. To keep my physical body alive, I eat physical food. But to keep my energy body alive, my head has to actively drink divine truth, and my chest has to actively eat ethical actions and charity.
That is the core of the framework.
What happens if I ignore this second part? What if I eat a perfectly balanced physical diet, I go to the gym, I'm a billionaire, but I never give anything away, and I constantly exploit people?
In this paradigm, your physical jism might be incredibly healthy, but your energy body is literally starving to death. It is withering away into nothing.
Oh, wow.
The text describes people who consume illicit wealth or hoard resources as literally eating fire into their bellies.
Fire.
Now, that isn't literal physical fire in a physical stomach. It is metaphysical fire destroying the jasad, the energy body. You are corroding your own soul.
Imagine walking around with a pristine physical body, but a completely emaciated, hollowed-out energy body. It explains so much about existential dread and the emptiness of pure materialism.
It really does.
And again, just a reminder to you listening, this incredibly intricate, interlocking framework we are exploring is entirely the research of Dr. Khaled Walid.
Yes, none of this is standard commentary.
Exactly. If this metaphysical anatomy, this breakdown of the mar, the qual, the spirit, the soul, and the energy body is captivating you, you really need to check out the Almighty Covenant YouTube channel. He breaks this down verse by verse, root word by root word.
His attention to detail is staggering.
Because establishing that we have an energy body that requires metaphysical food naturally brings us to the next massive question.
Which is?
If I need metaphysical food to survive, where is it grown? Where does it come from?
And that question moves us into the geography of sustenance. In this paradigm, metaphysical food isn't just an abstract concept floating in the ether. It originates from specific, textually defined, energetic centers.
Right, geographic centers.
Yes. And this is where Dr. Walid's textual analysis becomes incredibly controversial because he relies purely on the internal coordinates of the text to completely remap sacred geography.
We are talking about two distinct geographic centers repeatedly mentioned in the text, Baka and Makkah.
Yeah.
Historically, traditionally, people have often conflated these, assuming they're just two different names or ancient spellings for the exact same physical city in Saudi Arabia.
That is the dominant historical view, yes.
But you are saying Dr. Walid's linguistic map draws a massive, impenetrable line between them. You can't just move a globally recognized city. What linguistic breadcrumbs in the text is he following to plot these new coordinates?
He argues that the internal narrative of the text The descriptions of the flora, the topography, the resources, and the historical events associated with these names strictly defines them as two opposing paradigms and two entirely different geographic locations.
Okay, let's start with Baka. Where does he map that?
Following the textual clues regarding the good tree, the blessed land, and the historical sanctuary of the prophets, his mapping locates Baka west of the Dead Sea in the Jerusalem-Hebron area.
West of the Dead Sea, okay.
The text explicitly defines Baka as the true sanctuary. It uses the specific word haram, which means sacred, protected, inviolable, and holy.
If Baka is the sacred center, what kind of metaphysical food is served there?
Baka is associated with ultimate spiritual security, abundant pure food, and what the text calls the good tree. It is the pure source.
So it's where the good stuff grows.
Exactly. It is where the uncorrupted divine water flows to nourish the spirit in the head, and where the blueprint for ethical sustenance feeds the soul in the chest. It is a center of abundance and giving.
Okay, so Baka is the true sacred sanctuary west of the Dead Sea. But then we have Makkah. If they aren't the same place, where does the text plot Makkah, and what is its nature?
According to Dr. Walid's extraction of the topographical and narrative data, Makkah is located east of the Dead Sea, in the region of Petra.
Petra, wow, that is a huge shift.
It is, and the most shocking revelation in his analysis is how the text defines Makkah. It does not define it as sacred. It uses the word muharram.
Muharram.
Now, historically, people have tried to make haram and muharram mean the same thing, but linguistically, in this specific context, he translates muharram as forbidden, illicit, or restricted.
I'm struggling to process that. You are saying the text defines it as forbidden, not holy.
Correct. The text refers to it conceptually as the overturned city. It is associated in the verses with starvation, fear, and the bad tree.
The bad tree. So it's the exact opposite of Baka.
It is the epicenter of the corrupted paradigm. If Baka is a sun radiating pure energy and life, Makkah is a black hole that consumes energy, hoards wealth, and radiates exploitation.
We have these two incredibly distinct centers serving two very different metaphysical menus, the good tree versus the bad tree, the sacred versus the illicit.
Right.
And this leads to a concept that completely rewired my brain when I read his research, the direction of prayer, the Qibla.
The Qibla, yes.
You are saying the Qibla isn't just about where you point your physical compass on a prayer mat. It is literally the metaphysical restaurant you were choosing to order from.
That is precisely the mechanism Dr. Walid identifies.
Yeah.
The Qibla is not merely a geographic bearing or a physical ritual. It is an energetic umbilical cord. It is a dining table.
A dining table.
Yes. When you turn your head and your chest toward a specific center, you are opening your energy body to receive sustenance from the paradigm that center represents.
So if I consciously turn my internal compass to Baka,
You are consuming pure spiritual food. You are drinking from the uncorrupted divine source that nourishes your spirit, and you are eating the ethical sustenance that builds your soul.
you are aligning your entire existence with the good tree, which demands that you feed others before you feed yourself.
Exactly.
But if my compass is pointed to Makkah,
You are consuming illicit spiritual food. You are aligning with the bad tree. The text explicitly links this false alternate center to the consumption of riba, which is usury, exploitative interest, and predatory wealth.
so it's an economic alignment as much as a spiritual one.
Fully. By turning to the paradigm of Makkah, your energy body is drinking stagnant, corrupted water and eating spiritual fire. You are aligning with a system that extracts from the weak to feed the powerful.
This totally redefines the concept of a pilgrimage or a religious gathering at a sacred site. Because Dr. Walid points out that the text actually describes the gathering in Makkah not as a holy, uplifting spiritual journey, but as an active crime.
It does.
It describes it as a theft of worshipers. How does a city steal worshipers?
The textual narrative reveals a profound spiritual diversion. The crime of the alternate Qibla is that it actively lures people away from the true sanctuary of Baka.
It's pulling them off course.
Exactly. It draws them to the paradigm of Makkah to feed them illicit spiritual food, but more insidiously, to consume their wealth and their energy. It is an elaborate economic and spiritual trap.
I was trying to think of an analogy for this. It is like a massive, glittering casino ecosystem.
A casino. I like that. Let's explore that.
Right, so the casino builds these bright lights and offers you free, watered-down drinks. They make you feel special. They make you feel like you are part of an exclusive club. And they tell you that you are going to be blessed with a jackpot.
And you just have to sit at the table.
Exactly. But the free drinks are just false spiritual food to keep you sitting at the table while the house, the corrupted center, quietly and systematically drains your actual bank account.
That's a terrifyingly accurate metaphor.
They steal your resources while making you think you are performing a sacred ritual.
That is exactly how the text describes the mechanics of this false center. The false paradigm lures people in, makes them believe they are receiving divine blessing, but in reality, it is extracting their existential energy and their material resources through exploitative systems.
Man, that is bleak.
And this brings up a crucial linguistic distinction Dr. Walid makes regarding what exactly the people trapped in this casino are being forced to consume. The text severely condemns those who eat the turaf blindly.
Turaf, let's dig into that word. Because if you look at standard translations, people usually translate turaf simply as inheritance.
Right, like leaving money in a will.
Yeah, like fighting over your grandfather's estate or wealthy uncle's money.
They do translate it that way, but Dr. Walid points out a glaring linguistic inconsistency there. The text has a completely different, highly specific word for the legal financial inheritance of money and property, which is mirath.
Oh, okay. So mirath is the money.
Yes. The text has complex mathematical rules for mirath. But the word turath, used in this specific condemnation, refers to heritage.
Heritage. So we aren't talking about inheriting a house. We are talking about inheriting culture.
Exactly. Eating the turath blindly means uncritically swallowing corrupted cultural and religious heritage.
Swallowing tradition just because it's tradition.
Exactly. It means accepting the traditions, the dogmas, the historical narratives, and the corrupted paradigms of the false center Makkah without ever questioning them.
When you say, I believe this because my fathers believed it, or I practice this because it is our tradition.
Yes. If you do that without using your deep synthesizer in your chest to verify it against pure divine truth, you are eating the turath. You are consuming the toxic history of the overturned city, and it is systematically poisoning your energy body.
You are sitting at the casino table, drinking the free drinks and defending the casino manager because your grandfather used to play at the same table.
Yes, it's generational blindness.
You are swallowing a fake reality, and that fake food has catastrophic consequences for the energy body. Which brings us to the actual menu of this corrupted paradigm.
The menu, yes.
If Makkah is serving toxic spiritual food, what exactly is on the menu? The text gives us 4 very famous forbidden items in a verse known as Al-An'am 145.
A very heavily debated verse.
Right. For centuries, people have read this verse purely as a dietary restriction for the physical stomach, just a list of things not to put on your dinner plate. But Dr. Walid's analysis reviews them as profound, devastating economic and spiritual metaphors.
This is where the synthesis of the physical vocabulary and the metaphysical meaning really shines in his work. The text uses visceral physical imagery to describe abstract economic devastation.
Okay, let's decode this menu. The first forbidden item is dead meat.
Dead meat?
Now, in a purely physical, literal reading, that just means carrion. An animal that died of natural causes or disease and wasn't properly hunted or prepared. You shouldn't eat it because it will make you sick.
Right, basic food safety.
But metaphysically, how do you eat dead meat in an economic sense?
Metaphysically, dead meat represents an economy without a soul. It is wealth that lacks divine blessing or vital movement. It is stagnant.
So money that isn't doing anything.
Exactly. It doesn't move. It doesn't grow the human spirit. It doesn't circulate to the poor. It doesn't build society. It is dead capital.
Wow.
If you build your life, your business, or your entire society on an economy that doesn't breathe life into its people, you are consuming dead meat. Your energy body is feeding on a corpse. It will provide no vital energy.
That makes a strange kind of sense when you look at certain monolithic corporate structures that just exist to exist, producing nothing of real human value. It's just a dead system.
Precisely. It sustains itself, but it's dead.
Okay, the second forbidden food is spilled blood.
I will ask you the same question here. What does spilled blood represent to you in a purely anatomical sense?
Well, blood is the liquid life force of the physical body. It transports oxygen to the brain, it carries nutrients to the muscles, it keeps everything moving and alive.
It's the ultimate delivery system.
Yeah. If you get cut and the blood spills out onto the ground, it is wasted. It is taken out of the internal system. The body becomes anemic, goes into shock, and dies.
Exactly. Blood is the liquid life force of the body, just as liquid capital and resources are the liquid life force of a society. Spilling it means aggressively taking it out of circulation so that it cannot nourish the system.
So this is fundamentally about hoarding. It is equating spilled blood to billionaire hoarding.
Yes, hoarding is spilling the blood of the economy.
We're talking about massive frozen assets, offshore accounts, giant vaults of wealth that just sit there collecting dust while the working class literally starves. The money isn't circulating in the economic veins of the society to build schools or hospitals or feed people.
It's been drained from the patient.
It has been spilled out of the system and wasted. The society becomes anemic, while the hoarder sits on a puddle of spilled blood.
That is precisely the textual metaphor. Hoarding wealth, removing liquidity from the societal ecosystem, is metaphysically identical to drinking spilled blood.
Yeah.
It is a gruesome image for a gruesome economic reality.
It really is. Okay, now, the third forbidden item is perhaps the most culturally famous. Pork.
Right. And again, most people think, just don't eat bacon. God doesn't like pigs.
Yeah, that's the standard takeaway, but why? What is the energy body equivalent of pork? How do you get from a farm animal to an economic system?
To understand this, you have to look deeply at the biological nature of the animal being used in the metaphor. A pig consumes entirely indiscriminately.
Indiscriminately.
Yes, it will eat anything, roots, garbage, other animals. Furthermore, a pig does not sweat. It does not purge toxins through its skin the way other animals do.
Wait, really? It just holds on to all of it?
Yes. Instead, it hoards what it eats, storing it as thick layers of fat. It takes in everything and stores it selfishly without releasing anything back.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Dr. Walid reveals this biological reality as the ultimate, perfectly crafted metaphor for hoarded illicit wealth gained through riba, which is usury, compound interest, or predatory lending.
Oh, that is brilliant. A financial system based on compound interest is a system that just eats everything indiscriminately.
Everything.
It consumes homes, businesses, entire national economies.
Yeah.
And it never sweats. It never purges or forgives debt. It just gets bloated.
Exactly. It never cleanses itself.
It doesn't produce actual value or labor. It just extracts value from everyone else and gets fatter.
Yes. When you participate in and consume the fruits of an exploitative, interest-based system, your energy body is consuming the metaphysical equivalent of pork.
You're eating the financial fat.
You are feeding your soul toxic, unearned financial accumulation. You are internalizing the nature of the indiscriminate hoarder.
Man, that hits hard. And the fourth forbidden food on this corrupted menu.
That which is dedicated to other than God.
Physically, in ancient times, this meant meat that was literally sacrificed on an altar to stone idols, right?
Yes, physical idolatry. Metaphysically, in this framework, it means any food, any wealth, any system, or any ideology originating from the alternate false Qibla.
So anything from Makkah.
Yes. It is the sustenance provided by the Makkah paradigm, dedicated to the preservation of human ego, political power, and exploitation, rather than dedicated to divine truth, equity, and human welfare.
So these four foods, dead, stagnant economies,
Yeah.
hoarded liquid wealth, usury bloated financial systems, and idolized power structures. This is the menu at the Makkah restaurant. This is what you eat when you point your internal compass to that paradigm.
It is a devastating menu. And the text gives us a brilliant cinematic narrative to prove how dangerous consuming this menu actually is. Dr. Walid uses the historical narrative of Talut, also known as Saul, and the river test.
The river test. Walk me through that. Put me in the scene.
Talut is leading a small, outgunned army to face the massive, terrifying giant Goliath. They are marching through the wilderness, they are exhausted, their morale is low, and they are dying of thirst.
So they are desperate.
Incredibly desperate. Suddenly they come to a river, but instead of letting them drink, Talut issues a strict, shocking command from the divine. God is testing you with a river. Whoever drinks from it is not of me, and whoever does not taste it is of me, except for one who takes a mere handful.
From a purely physical standpoint, that seems like a cruel, arbitrary test of endurance. You have an army that needs hydration to fight, and you tell them not to drink the water right in front of them.
Physically, it makes absolutely no strategic sense. But metaphysically, viewing it through Dr. Walid's framework, that river wasn't just physical H2O.
What was it?
The river represented the flowing, intoxicating, usury-based economic system of the Makkah paradigm. It was the rushing flow of illicit, easy wealth.
Oh. So he is essentially saying to his troops, we're about to fight a massive existential battle for the soul of our society against a giant. If you drink deeply from this corrupt economic system, if you gorge yourself on usury and hoarded wealth, just because it is easy and right in front of you, your energy body will become heavy, lethargic, and compromised.
Exactly. He's saying, don't take the easy, corrupt money. And the text says that the vast majority of the army ignored him.
Because they were thirsty.
Right. They saw the water, they gave in to their immediate desires, and they drank deeply from the river. And the immediate consequence. The text says they instantly lost their will to fight.
They gave up.
They looked at the enemy and said, "We have no power today against Goliath and his soldiers." By consuming the illicit metaphysical food, their energy bodies collapsed under the magnetic weight of the soul's earthly desires. They became cowards.
That completely changes the meaning of the story. It is not a story about being thirsty. It is a story about not selling out to a corrupt financial matrix before you go to war against it. You cannot defeat Goliath if your army is secretly funded by Goliath's bank. If you are compromised by the system, you can't fight the system.
Exactly. You cannot defeat the false paradigm if your energy body is constructed from its food. Only the very few soldiers who completely refused to pace the corrupt economic system, or who took only the absolute bare minimum, the mere handful necessary to physically survive within a corrupt world without becoming bloated by it, retained their spiritual electricity.
Their spirits remained strong.
Yes. And those few were the ones who ultimately defeated Goliath.
That is staggering. It takes a story that usually reads like an arbitrary fairy tale about magic rivers and grounds it in profound socioeconomic reality. But it begs the ultimate question.
How did it start?
Yeah. If the Makkah menu is so obviously toxic dead economies, hoarding, usury, spiritual collapse, how did humanity get tricked into eating from it to begin with? Who opened the restaurant?
To find that, we have to look at Dr. Walid's linguistic analysis of the origin story. We have to trace this all the way back to the archetype of Adam. The text says Adam's original failing was eating from the bad tree.
Right, the famous forbidden fruit, the apple.
But remember our three metaphorical trees from the beginning of our discussion, this was never a physical piece of fruit. Dr. Walid's analysis locates this bad tree squarely within the geographic and conceptual paradigm of Makkah.
So Adam ate from the Makkah paradigm.
Yes. Adam was lured into consuming illicit metaphysical food, whether that manifested as arrogant knowledge, a grasp for illicit power, or a selfish desire for false immortality.
And what was the actual consequence when he consumed it?
The text says his nakedness became apparent to him. Historically, people read that as him suddenly realizing he wasn't wearing physical clothes and feeling embarrassed.
Right, suddenly he needs a fig leaf.
But metaphysically, Dr. Walid argues that consuming from the bad tree deeply corrupted Adam's energy body. His jasad was damaged. The protective aura of pure energy he received from aligning with Baka was stripped away because he ingested the toxic food of Makkah.
So he lost his shield.
Yes. His spiritual vulnerability, his true nakedness, was exposed to the harshness of reality.
So he essentially unplugged his hardware from the pure power source, plugged it into a corrupted high-voltage outlet, and it blew his spiritual fuses. He lost his shielding.
That is a very apt modern way to visualize it. But Adam's mistake was a singular event. The text then traces the institutionalization of this corrupted diet to a specific historical figure, the figure of Israel, or Jacob.
Okay.
According to this strict textual reading, the text offers a severe, uncompromising critique of Israel for permanently distorting the divine law.
What did he actually do? How did he distort it?
The text states that Israel made all food lawful, except what he personally decided to forbid for himself.
Wait, so he just made up his own rules?
Yes. He took the pristine divine menu, which clearly and safely separated the pure from the toxic, the Baka from the Makkah, and he blurred the lines entirely based on his own personal desires and political convenience.
He rewrote the menu for everyone else to consolidate his own power.
He did. And this act of religious manipulation, this hoarding of truth and serving humanity deliberate falsehoods disguised as piety, is what birthed the Makkah paradigm as an institution.
So he franchised the bad tree.
Exactly. It normalized and institutionalized the consumption of the Turath, the corrupted heritage we discussed earlier. It created an insidious system where people genuinely think they are eating divine truth and following God, but they are actually eating the arbitrary, exploitative rules made up by men to control them.
Which brings us full circle to the ultimate betrayal of the rule we established at the very beginning. You cannot eat until you feed.
Right.
The Makkah paradigm is entirely, fundamentally about eating for yourself and denying others. It is the ultimate selfishness disguised as religion.
Exactly. And Dr. Walid identifies a highly specific term for this ultimate sin in the text, preventing the mal.
Preventing the mon. What does that phrase mean?
Mon translates to aid, assistance, or the basic daily necessities of life. A cup of sugar, a tool, a helping hand. Preventing the mon is the cardinal sin of the Makkah paradigm. It is the refusal to bow to humanity.
Wait, I thought bowing was strictly a ritual posture reserved only for the divine. You don't bow to other people.
In a literal, physical, ritualistic sense, yes, you bow only to the divine. But metaphysically, in this internal vocabulary, bowing represents profound service, humility, and the willingness to lower your own ego to lift someone else up.
Lowering yourself to serve.
Exactly. Think back to the origin story. The angels were commanded by the divine to bow to Adam. They were commanded to serve, support, and facilitate human consciousness. The Makkah paradigm is characterized by a violent refusal to serve.
It's pure arrogance.
Yes. It is a refusal to teach the ignorant, a refusal to spiritually feed the starving, a refusal to share hoarded wealth. It is the billionaire sitting on the spilled blood. It is the hoarding of the oxygen masks while the plane goes down.
I am going to breathe, and I'm going to watch you suffocate, and I'm going to tell you it's God's will. That is chilling. It is the weaponization of spirituality.
It truly is.
So if you're listening to this, whether you're on your commute or sitting at home, what does this actually mean for you? We are walking around with an energy body that is either starving or it's being actively poisoned by corrupt heritage, usury, and selfishness. How do you know which way your internal compass is facing? How do you fix it?
For the solution, Dr. Walid points to the most famous, most frequently repeated verses in the entire text. Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter.
The opening chapter. People recite that all the time.
Millions, billions of times a day globally. He describes this short chapter as the ultimate metaphysical compass. It contains a specific declaration that, when truly understood through this metaphysical lens rather than just muttered as a habit, completely realigns the energy and body.
The core verses of that declaration are, "You alone we worship," and "You alone we ask for help." I have heard that a million times. How does that specific phrase realign the compass?
Let's apply the duality we have been discussing the entire time. The head and the chest, the spirit and the soul.
Right.
The first part of the declaration is, "You alone we worship." Worship, in this linguistic paradigm, is the ultimate submission of the spirit residing in the head.
The electrical part.
Yes. It is the conscious decision to seek spiritual, drink pure water, pure divine guidance, uncontaminated truth only from the true source, Baka. It is a definitive refusal to drink from the stagnant, polluted rivers of corrupted heritage and false tradition.
Okay, so that feeds the head. What about the chest?
The second part of the declaration is, "You alone we ask for help." This is the desperate plea of the soul residing in the chest. It is seeking spiritual food, ethical sustenance, true security, the good tree, only from the true divine source.
So it's unplugging from Makkah.
Yes. It is an absolute refusal to rely on the illicit, usury-based, exploitative economy of Makkah for help or security.
Oh, wow. So when you stand there and declare, "You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help," you aren't just saying a prayer. You are verbally, intentionally, and radically unplugging from the corrupted matrix of Makkah.
Exactly.
You are rejecting the usury, the hoarding, the fake heritage, the dead meat, and the spilled blood. And you are actively plugging your head and your chest back into the pure energy source of Baka. You are looking at the two menus and you are choosing your food.
Exactly. You are consciously deciding what your energy body will consume. It is the ultimate declaration of metaphysical independence from exploitative human systems. It is a reclamation of your own hardware.
This has been an absolute mind-bender of a journey. Let me try to synthesize everything we have explored today. We started by completely redefining the acts of eating and drinking, shifting them from basic biological survival to profound moral acts where giving is the absolute prerequisite to consuming.
The oxygen mask inversion.
Right. We discovered that we have a highly complex metaphysical hardware and software system, a head and a chest, a spirit and a soul, a fuad and an akwal, that all combine to create an energy body that requires ethical nourishment.
And if you don't feed it ethically, it starves.
Yeah. We then explored the controversial geographical and energetic mapping of Baka, the true sanctuary and source of pure energy, versus Makkah, the illicit overturned city of consumption. We decoded the 4 forbidden foods not as dietary guidelines, but as devastating economic metaphors for stagnant capital, hoarding, usury, and systemic idolatry.
It's an incredibly comprehensive framework.
It is. And we ended with the realization that economics, spirituality, anatomy, and geography are not separate subjects. They're all deeply intertwined in the vocabulary of this text, culminating in the ultimate compass of al-Fatiha to unplug us from the corrupted matrix.
A perfect summary.
Again, I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah.
This entire revolutionary paradigm, this intricate mathematical mapping of ancient language, is the brilliant original research of Dr. Khaled Walid.
Yes, all credit goes to his work.
If you want to see the primary sources, the Arabic root breakdowns, and the full unedited scope of this theory, you absolutely must support his work and dive deeper by subscribing to the Almighty Covenant YouTube channel. It is a lens that will fundamentally change how you read ancient literature.
It really is. It is a framework that strips away the comfort of the literal and forces you to confront the profound, often uncomfortable moral mechanics hidden beneath the surface of every single word.
And as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one final thought. We started this conversation by talking about a physical map and how we love things to be clean, literal, and binary. We like to think, if I eat a physical salad, I am a healthy person. But the map we looked at today doesn't track your calories. It traces the invisible arteries of your actions, your ethics, and your deepest intentions.
The question you are left with is this. If your physical body is built by what you eat, what has your energy body been consuming lately?
Look closely at the media you absorb, the wealth you aggressively pursue, and the heritage you swallow daily without ever questioning its origin.
Are you feeding your soul from the good tree of genuine service and truth? Or are you quietly starving it to death with a very comfortable illusion?